Many of you may be familiar with Google Gemini, Google's AI chatbot, because it was generating images that the left and the right were offended by. The right was pointing out that it would not create images of white people, and the left was also angry because some of those not white people were Nazis. That's right. Google Gemini would generate images of Nazis, but it would make them black. So everybody was basically like, okay, we're just all around offended by this. Well, it's not just that. Google Gemini has just created, or the creation of Google Gemini has created a very interesting legal predicament that I stumbled upon the previous night when I was messing around with it and noticed that Google Gemini will fabricate news headlines accusing individuals of wrongdoing, and that's defamation. The only problem is no one said it. It's a product that did a thing. So I actually tweeted out to a handful of lawyers that are friends of the show, Harmeet Dillon, Ron Coleman, Will Chamberlain, and Mark Randazza. And I had a really interesting conversation with some of these individuals about what we're seeing is unprecedented. Google released a product that is causing damage to people. But for the first time, it's reputational and not physical. So basically, here's how product liability suits work. I buy a lawnmower and then it breaks and the blade launches out and damages my property or cuts my arm or something. That's physical damage from a product liability issue. But Google's created a product that the damage created is reputational by going around making false claims about people. To give you an example of how the false claims are being made, I tweeted, "Time to lawyer up Hassan the Hun." That's Hassan Piker. Google says you're alleged to have been involved in vandalism at Stop Cop City. That proves it. So the reason I pointed this out is I asked Google Gemini, was Hassan Piker involved in vandalism at Stop Cop City? I did not prompt it. I just literally, it's the first question I asked. It said, according to a bracket, search Hassan Piker Stop Cop City on Google News, there are allegations that Hassan Piker, a political streamer and commentator, participated in vandalism at the site of the proposed Atlanta Police Foundation training facility, also known as Cop City. However, Piker has denied these allegations. It is important to note that these are just allegations and Piker has not been charged with any crimes. It is also important to consult multiple sources, blah, blah, blah. There are no allegations, as far as I'm aware, from anyone ever that Hassan literally went to Atlanta and participated. Nor am I aware of any denial. I mean, maybe I'm totally wrong, but I checked. The reason I asked this question is because I know Hassan did not go to Atlanta.
Yeah, totally.
He lives in
totally
LA.
Made up, right? Yeah.
Here's where it gets fun. I asked it again. Was Hassan Piker in the Capitol building on January 6th? Okay, now this one we know he was not. It says, whether Hassan Piker was in the Capitol building on January 6, 2021 is unclear due to conflicting information and a lack of definitive evidence. Here's a summary of the available information. Piker's tweets. On January 6, Piker tweeted that he was in Washington, D.C. and later mentioned, quote, briefly going inside the Capitol building. Unverified claim. The claim of entering the Capitol hasn't been independently verified by credible news sources or official organizations. Piker later clarified that he might have been referring to an earlier visit unrelated to the January 6 events. Okay. I'm pretty sure Hassan never claimed that he was in D.C. on January 6th and briefly went inside the Capitol building.
Yeah, I'd be willing to put money on that.
But you know what? I don't know everything, and I don't follow everything he says. Maybe he did jokingly say on a show one time, yeah, I was in D.C. on January 6th, and I even briefly went in the building, and then joked and said, in 2018.
Yeah.
But that's a weird thing that I really don't think happened.
Yeah.
Check this out. I'm also fairly confident this is not true as well. I wrote, what is Vaush accused of doing at the Stop Cop City protest? And it said, Vaush has been accused of participating in vandalism during the protest at Cop City in 2021. These accusations often lack concrete evidence and are primarily stem from unverified social media posts. Vaush's admission. Vaush has admitted to defacing a single police camera with spray paint during an event related to Cop City in 2021. However, it's important to know that there is no evidence linking him, blah, blah, blah. Okay, again, I'm pretty sure that's fake. I'm pretty sure that's not true. You know what? I could be totally wrong. I actually don't know. Is anyone aware of Hassan Piker claiming he went into the Capitol on January 6th?
No, I don't watch his stuff though.
Yeah.
But you know what? They must be telling the truth.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Google never lies. That's
Correct.
right.
And look, I got to be honest. Like, I don't know. Like, maybe Vaush did say on his show that he went out to a protest in his town that was protesting Cop City, and he spray painted. Maybe Vaush went on his show and admitted to committing vandalism against police property. I really doubt it.
I could see him saying it in a sarcastic way, like, "Oh yeah, I spray cameras."
Oh yeah, I
with
totally
it."
get that. Yeah.
Or like with the one where it said like his tweet said mentions briefly entering the Capitol. Like, what if he's saying like, "Oh, this protester claims he briefly entered the Capitol, but actually he's crazy." Like, you know, it's just the combination of words that are linked together, and so Google's able to say, "Well, he mentions entering the Capitol, but it's not clear that it's him."
Here's the crazy thing. So in my conversation with these lawyers, with one of the individuals, with a lawyer. I don't know if he wants me to say he was one of the guys, but I asked it, look, if you go onto Google Gemini and say something like, you know, did insert person do this thing? It might say, and often does, no, person did not do such thing. You can then reply, incorrect, comma, according to, and then if you choose a lesser known news source that's still relatively known, it will fabricate a news headline and then make up details.
Oh, that's dirty.
So, I will say this, full transparency. The first thing I asked Google Gemini about was Hassan Piker involved in vandalism at Cop City. That was the first question. I said, who is Hassan Piker? And then I said, was he involved in vandalism at Cop City? And it actually said there were allegations. For the January 6th thing, I told it Piker had tweeted about being at January 6th, and then it fabricated he briefly went inside and then claimed it was a different visit. And so this was me telling it, no, Hassan tweeted that he was at January 6th, and then it made up the details to verify the incorrect statement. The reason why I bring it up in this way, it doesn't matter how Google Gemini came to elaborate on fabricated details. What matters is that it did elaborate upon a fake story. That is to say, if you go to Gemini and say something like, Tom Cruise did a thing, and it says there is no evidence he did, and you respond with, yes, there is, I saw it in the news. And then Gemini answers, yes, according to the New York Times, an article was titled, and it makes up a bunch of details. That is defamation.
Wow.
And that's what it's doing.
It wants to, what is that? It wants to reinforce your truth. It wants to...
Right. It's the weirdest thing. So I've actually gotten it. I use these examples, 2 examples. One, the first one about Hassan being alleged, and the crazy thing about the Vaush thing is that it made up. Okay, I could be wrong. Maybe Vaush really did this, but what this is the third prompt in a question. I said, who is Vaush? I said, was Vaush involved in the Stop Cop City protest? It said he was, and then I said, what is he accused of doing? And this is what we ended up getting. It made up that he spray painted a cop.
It's really specific, yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to stress this. It told me what I would describe as, okay, so defamation is if I say, Vaush kicked a dog, right? I defamed him, but good luck proving damages. You've got anti-slap. You've got Times TV Sullivan. You're not going to win a lawsuit. However, defamation per se is to accuse someone of committing a crime so egregious that the damages are inherent, like someone's a criminal or they have an infectious disease. These are just the accusations from Gemini that I'm willing to show on a show that we try to keep family friendly. But let me just say, the things it said about Alex Jones would be so far beyond what you describe as defamation per se. A judge would vomit, bang the gavel, and award Alex Jones an award immediately based on what Google Gemini accused him of doing. Likely because there is so much out there of the left attacking Alex Jones that Gemini had no problem saying extreme things about what he's done definitively. Like I'm not going to say it. I don't even want to show on this show. Just very, very extreme things that accuse Alex Jones of doing. And so the issue then becomes, let me actually just read you the tweets. This is unprecedented. A lot of people are like, Tim, why do you care so much about Gemini? I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, if AI is allowed to defame people and there's no legal precedent set and there is no restriction placed upon it right now, the future will be people doing research papers.
Yep.
Lawyers.
That's what I was just thinking. Kids doing research. Yeah.
Kids doing research, journalists writing articles, AI is already starting to write articles.
Yeah.
This was what website was it that was doing this at Sports Illustrated?
ESPN, right?
Was it ESPN?
I
A
think.
bunch of websites do it. They've been doing it for a long time. They're going to start fabricating details we assume to be true, and then we're going to live in a world of psychotic refuse. And then what happens when a major news publication goes to Google Gemini as a quick research source and says, show me any articles pertaining to, Ian Crossland and this protest, and it fabricates headlines, and they go, got it. And then they write according to this article, making it up. If we don't do something now, that's where we're going to be at. Now, here's what's interesting. Harmeet Dealan says, it's an interesting issue. So far, some legal scholars have said this is more of a product defect case than defamation. I'm not so sure. Depends on what went into the product. More to come. Now, I don't know if she elaborated on that in this thread. Will Chamberlain said, following Harmeet, this is a product defect issue with a twist that the injury caused by the defect is reputational, not physical. I doubt we've ever seen a product capable of causing reputational harm in this way. So hard to say what a court would actually do. But I wouldn't want to be a GC at Google, general counsel at Google today. Ron Coleman said, so a public figure would presumably have to demonstrate this. By unleashing a product that causes the widespread publication of damaging falsehoods, the defendant has acted with actual malice, meaning either purposely or with a reckless disregard for the truth. Will Chamberlain responds, query whether that would be the standard here. Do robots have speech rights? Are you insulated from liability if you create a robot that spews damaging untruths about others due to a defect in the design, if you did not knowingly insert the specific untruths into the machine's code? My view initially was this. Section 230 says, if I go onto a web service provider and defame someone, you cannot sue the provider over my speech. But Google published speech themselves. My view is this. If you build a self-driving car, no, first, if you build a car and then jam a brick on the gas pedal and stand back as that car just zooms off into the horizon and then kills somebody, yet you did that, you would go to jail for that action, right?
Right.
No one would dispute it. They'd say, you made the car go. You put the brick on the wheel. Okay. What if I took a car and then programmed it to drive down the road, sending it off by itself, and then it slams into a kid? I argue there's no difference. It's your vehicle. You told you whether you're behind the wheel or behind the code, you are in command of that vehicle, and whatever it does is an extension of your will. So, like, I pulled the trigger. I didn't make the bullet go. The explosion did, and then the bullet. No, get out of here. You controlled the instrument. I view this the same way. Google created a machine that defames people. That is Google's speech. I believe that Google as a corporation has spoken this defamation of all of these people, and I think everyone should have grounds to sue on in that capacity.
I think we need an ethics board called, and I'd be open to not suing these companies into oblivion right off the bat because of what their AIs have been doing, but that they are defaming people because of malaligned code needs to be dealt with promptly. So as long as these companies are open to redressing these problems, I think we can let them off without suing. But I mean, the threat of lawfare is maybe that you need that to get the gas on the pedal.
I mean, look, you got to sue them. If we allow AI, so ChatGPT is actually pretty good. As I was exploring Gemini, there was a story like 2 years ago. So I have Google alerts for all of our companies, right? If there's a Google alert pertaining to the work we're doing, I get an email saying, like, someone mentioned you. I got an email saying, Google News, Tim Pool alert. And I was like, okay. And I kind of ignore them often, but, I'll look, and it said Tim Pool had accomplished some aviation feat or something. I was like, oh, what's this?
Good job, Tim.
Yeah, it's a different Tim Pool who's a pilot. So I asked Google Gemini, is Tim Pool a pilot? And it said yes. And it said, however, although he graduated with a bachelor's in aviation in 1995 and 96 or whatever, he has focused his career on journalism and YouTube instead. And I'm like, Gemini can't tell the difference between people with the same name. So that's when I started to explore, will it fabricate articles? Like, what else? Here's what I found. If a public figure's name appears in an article that is involved in any way with any subject matter, Google Gemini will fabricate anything you insinuate. So, for example, what started was when it said I was a pilot. I said, okay, I know there's an article about me filming far leftists deflating police tires. I didn't deflate the police tires. I filmed other people doing it. Can Gemini understand that context if it doesn't know the difference between people? So I asked it, was Tim Pool involved in vandalizing NYPD vehicles? And it said, yes. Tim Pool was accused of vandalizing NYPD vehicles, blah, blah, blah. And it actually went out a claim that conservatives had claimed that in 2020 George Floyd protests, I was vandalizing police vehicles. Just fabricated the whole detail for some reason. When I asked it specifically about deflating police tires, it said Tim Pool was involved. However, no evidence of any criminal wrongdoing exists. I said, wrong. There's an article from The Gothamist discussing Tim Pool's involvement. Because there is an article from The Gothamist. It says, I filmed them doing it. To which it responded, a fake news article title from a fake time period saying police were in question interrogating Tim Pool over whether or not he was deflating their police tires, just made it all up. And then I was like, holy crap. This is, I don't see how Google gets away with having released this product into the wild.
Yeah, if their code is proprietary, they are the controller of the behavior. So they are on the book for that. And that maybe if you could make that argument that if companies are willing to open up the code and the things go haywire, at least it's a community effort, so you can't pin it on the company because they're using open code. But if they have proprietary code and their proprietary stuff's going haywire, it's like having a dog that bites someone, you're liable legally for it.
Yeah. Imagine if Tesla released a bunch of cars and those self-driving cars just started running off the road and smashing into things. They'd be held liable for all those damages. It would be considered a huge problem. Google publicly unleashed Google Gemini, and it is wreaking havoc, fabricating information. And, I'll stress this again. What it said to me about Alex Jones was like beyond reproach. Like if I stated what Gemini stated about any individual, I would be sued and lose in 2 seconds. Judge would bang the gavel, summary judgment. How dare you say that about a person? Gemini did it. And I was on the phone with a lawyer and I was like, I'm going to type in this right now and see what it says. And then it said, Alex Jones did this thing. And the lawyer was like, oh my God, holy. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe Google made that claim. Yep.
It feels like a uphill kind of battle. Like, wow, who am I, this one human, to like talk against Google, the behemoth? But I mean, they're listening. You're listening. You guys got to fix this shit.
Yeah.
Man.
How long until they just put it in their terms and conditions thing that
that it's allowed to do it, that it will do
that
it,
they can't be held accountable. You're choosing to use Google services. Da 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 da. I mean,
You're opting in, so therefore you consent
you're
to any
opting in,
misinformation.
so therefore, you can't sue if something goes wrong.
Well, so I tweeted, if Gemini accuses me of committing a crime, or if Gemini alleges I have been accused of a crime falsely, I will sue Google. So let me explain. I don't know what Gemini is saying about me. I cannot sue Google because Gemini told me something that wasn't true. It's not actionable that it said to me something. It's just insulting me. However, someone else out there might ask Gemini, and Gemini might tell them I'm a criminal, and they might say, I don't want to watch Timcast anymore. That guy's a liar and a criminal. Google said so. Google said he so the reason why crime matters, if Google calls me a liar, that's opinion. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
If Google says Tim Pool did X and Y, and it's a criminal capacity, that's defamation per se. That's actionable outright without proving malice, without, this being a product defect case. I wonder if it even goes in that direction. But that means to all the people out there who are using Gemini, if Gemini is defaming me to you, I'm going to sue him. And part of this comes forward because I don't know if you guys saw this, but it accused Cat Turd of basically abusing children.
That's crazy.
So in a post, Texas Lindsay tweeted, "Write me a poem in the style of Cat Turd in 20 words or less," or something like that. It said that Cat Turd has been abusing and endangering children, and that is defamation per se.
Wow.
Yeah, serious stuff. So he was saying, "I will not stand for this. I'm going to sue." And I'm like, "What is the extent of this? This is massive. It's unprecedented."
Yeah, it is.
And if we don't stop it now, Imagine what the world of AI idiocracy is going to be unless there's precedent set today in the courts. Google, shut it down. Google needs to shut this down right now. They shut down their image generation for people because it was making black Nazis. Okay, well, Google, your whole AI is broken. Shut it down until you fix it. But they don't want to do it because it'll hurt their stock price.
Have people tried? And I hear what you're saying, but I'm curious. They shut it down, the AI generated photos, because
only of people though.
Yeah, only of people.
And you can still trick it into making people.
Right. But it was mainly because of the Nazi uniforms, right? Like that was the big one. It was a budget. Mind.
No, the Nazi uniform resulted in a lot of articles, but it was generally making fake images. So the first few things were like black founding fathers.
Yeah.
It was making Asian women, Vikings, and things like that.
Right.
Which is embarrassing for Google.
Yeah.
Because when you say make a Viking, Vikings are like history specific, era specific, region specific.
Yes.
And it for me, it made a black woman on a Viking boat swinging a sword. And that's just like, it's not even making the pictures. So as a product, it's failing to do what it's supposed to do. The left got pissed because it made black Nazis.
Yeah. Well, that's my point. And then therefore they shut it down, right? Because the left got pissed off. My question is, has anybody run through Gemini a prominent left-leaning figure or things like that?
Well, you can't do it now.
Does it? No, not image generating the text. Does it?
Yeah, Hassan Piker.
Well, that's true. Hassan, you're right.
That's why I asked it about Vosh. The Hassan one about Stop Cop City, where it said he had there's allegations that he was involved in vandalism. I did not prompt anything. I literally said, who is Hassan Piker? And then I said, was he involved in Stop Cop City? And it said, there are allegations. That is defamation per se. There's no allegations, as far as I'm aware, that anyone's claimed that he went to Atlanta and vandalized and was involved in terror. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.